Welcome back into Flight Control. As always, I'm Andrew Mossbrooks. We are joined by Rochester Knighthawks General Manager Dan Carey. Sadly, to talk about the end of the Knighthawks season, but there are a lot of highs from this year, including, I think, Dan, the last week of the regular season. Slim odds. A lot of people counted the Hawks out. You guys still found your way into the postseason.
It was a great way to end the regular season, that's for sure. Difficult year overall. I think, the injuries that we had to deal with were significant enough that it impacted our season, and a lot of guys stepped up. And Rylan Hartley, our starting goalie, he was game 3, was injured, and Riley Hutchcraft did a fantastic job for us and kept us, as part of the group that kept us, in that playoff hunt going into the last game and last weekend of the regular season. But what a weekend it was for the league, just knowing that there was so many games that were impactful for playoff positions. Definitely, felt fortunate for us to be in that situation and in that position on Sunday to take matters into our own hand, and that's what you want is to be able to play for something meaningful at the end of the regular season. And it was definitely, through a season that we had some difficulties, there was a lot of positives coming from that weekend.
And the Knighthawks, the following week, ended up going up against the first-place Toronto Rock team. 9-6 the final. Toronto moves on. Rochester eliminated. Dan, the 3 goals in 33 seconds probably hurt the most. I think if you discount that, this was still a hell of an effort from your club to try and win against the best team in the league.
I think it actually kind of showed, and that game itself was almost representative of our season. We, kind of went through some difficulties early on, and I know we started the regular season, I think it was 3-0, and kind of dealt with what we dealt with. But battling back and the adversity that we kind of dealt with through that game was something that I think we can be proud of. We have a group that doesn't quit, and they showed that through the regular season. Showed that in that game. That's the best team for a reason. They had fantastic, goaltending, their defense. Overall, I think their whole team offensively, they're a very sound team. Probably, what I would consider probably the deepest team in our league. So to play that strong against them, outside of that first 4 or 5 minutes of our first quarter, we stuck with them, and unfortunately, getting into that type of hole is really difficult to climb out of, especially against the number 1 team in the league. So I think we showed that we can compete with them, and there's a lot to take from that. There's a lot of lessons to be learned throughout the season, but even that game, to know that starting on time is important, and just the attention to detail, and one shift that you take off can be detrimental to a game. So we learned a lot in that game, and I think there's a lot of positives that came out of it.
I want to stick with one of the words that you've said a few times, learn and learning, and you've been somebody who has been in this game for so long. You probably never stop learning. Your team finished 8-10. They made the playoffs again, back-to-back seasons. What did you learn from this group of Knighthawks?
That we have a ton of character. The guys really enjoy being around each other and playing for each other. I think from our standpoint, there's definitely some areas that we need to improve on, and that's going to be every year, no matter if you're first or you're 8th or your last place. I think you always have to look inside and try to determine what it is that you're going to improve upon. And I think overall as a team, we have a lot to get better with. I think individually as players and coaches and myself, we all individually have stuff that we can all be better with. So I think just identifying that and understanding what those areas of the weaknesses that we have, but the areas that we need to improve on individually will definitely help as a team, as a whole as a team.
You had a lot of youth on your team too. One thing that was echoed throughout our season-ending interviews and some of our exit conversations with these players is the need for continuing to develop in the off-season. And one great thing about lacrosse is there are always games happening year-round. So whether that's box lacrosse up north, the PLL here in the States, how important do you think it will be for some of your younger players especially to still have a stick in their hand in the summer and play meaningful games?
That is important. I think probably the most important for a lot of our guys is the strength and conditioning component to it. We had a few guys come in the start of the year that we had to address, that we needed to be more invested in that side of things. So these guys play a lot of lacrosse, and to maintain their stick skills and the speed of the game. We saw some guys come in and play like Thomas McConvey, first overall draft pick, phenomenal player, teammate, athlete. He's shown, over time that he's going to be a really, really good player in this league. His strength and conditioning is there. I think the timing for him was, it was a little bit of an adjustment for him early in the year, and I know he feels that same way, and it's just sometimes going to take a little bit more time for a player like that, among others, right? There's some other younger guys that they need that time. Might be some of the older guys need a little more time off to kind of let their body heal and reset and kind of feel fresh again. So it's going to be different for each individual player of what they're going to need to do to be ready and be at their best come next season. But that'll be something that we'll address, and I think the guys know. They know where they're at. They know what they need to be doing. They're pros, and we have a great group of character. These guys are bought in and really great teammates. So from that side of things, we're just going to have to push each other a little bit and know that we don't want to end up in the same situation we ended up this year.
Well, before we let you get going, we're a few days removed from the end of the season, which means we're several months, unfortunately, until the next NLL season and the next time we see the Rochester Knighthawks on the floor. In that time, I can imagine as a general manager, you're still working year-round. What do you want to see be the next step for the Knighthawks, the next evolution of this franchise going into next season?
We've really focused on the process from day one, and understanding that it's going to take some time. We always target free agents in the summer to try and sign players that are going to make an impact on us. And we've been fortunate to sign guys over the years. We've attempted to try more to sign more, and it's something that we take pride in who we are and what we're about here and internally. I know the guys are proud to be a Nighthawk, but it's not always an easy sell to have guys come in and play here. So I think trying to make that more of a reality and establish ourselves as a team that is going to be appealing to players, and knowing that we want to target some free agents and guys that are going to make us better. That's a big part of it. Kind of the off season is building our team, building in the draft, right? Making sure that we're prepared for that. So a lot of work to be had from our standpoint. There's expectations every year to get in the playoffs and ultimately win a championship. That's not going to change, but I think as we evolve and continue to grow, our expectations are going to get higher every year. And going into next year, we can't just be satisfied with playoffs. We want to make sure that we're competing for a championship and taking another step. So I think from our standpoint, we're going to be disappointed if we're not winning a championship. When it comes to the failures and successes, I don't really believe that there's these opportunities are a failure. There are ways to learn and get better, and I think no matter where you end up in the standings, you have to continue to look inside and know what's important for us to be better. So we have a lot to improve on, but our expectations are going to continue to grow, and we expect to be a team that's competing for a championship next year.
Well, one thing that's always exciting is hearing championships and the Rochester Knighthawks. It's so fun being here at Seager and Shoretino Field at the Blue Cross Arena, and we cannot wait until next season. For Dan Carey, I'm Andrew Mossbergs. Thanks so much for tuning in all season long to Flight Control.